What's up, brothers and sisters? It's your brother G World 7_D. Um, this is a quick video. It's basically like an extension when I mentioned on the track earlier. To my workout. The importance for us to really not to waste our time with ignorant Negroes, man. Build with brothers and sisters who are willing to work with you and who are on the same page with you. Because let's just use this terminology. We at the train station, we need to leave, man. And we're trying to go across the country. Some people are going to be stuck and they're going to remain at the point A. They're not going to get to point B. They're going to remain at point A because their head is stuck in the sand, man. They're stuck in ignorance. And the issue of learning our true history is so important to me, but there's a lot of these Negroes don't want to hear that because they've been so highly indoctrinated. They've been indoctrinated with, they were brought over here in the slave ship. And majority of our people are already here. I don't see why you don't understand it. So I got to look at the names of the Americas, and you can see that the Aboriginal blacks, it was named after the Aboriginal blacks that were already here. But some of our people can't fathom that the Egyptians were in the Grand Canyon, were at the Grand Canyon. You know, there's some of these Negroes who argue down and that don't even believe that. Oh, that's a hoax. The only thing they believe that black people came over as slaves. Even with the issue of Muhammad Abu Bakr II, the brother of Mansa Musa, that, you know, he set sail to the Americas, you know the story, and I think was it the 2,400 ships or something that sailed here to the Americas. Now, you have a lot of millennium place names all through the Americas, man. It's funny. And for you to still believe that you came over here as African slaves is disgusting. Then you have Negroes who say, well, Africans came here, they mixed in with the natives. The so-called indigenous people here were black. All right, they were black. Black people already were here. See, it's the problem that some of our people, they say you went through this educational system, K through 12, then you went on to college, city colleges, universities, small colleges, whatever, and you've been indoctrinated with a lie that's saying that another group of people were indigenous to this land when they weren't. But you were. People who look like you were. But you cannot fathom that because in your mind you just had to come over here as a slave from Africa. And you believe in a story that was written by someone else. That's someone else who wrote that story. Who's been writing your narrative. Unfortunately, you have Negroes who continue to help write that narrative, that lie narrative, like Henry Louis Gates. We cannot continue to allow that, man, allowing foreigners to interpret our history like that. I've given so much, I backed up so much what I said, how the original people here in America were so-called black people. And how all different groups come from black people. And when you look at a lot of black Americans, there's so many different phenotypes within the black American population, the Aboriginal black American population. Earlier I mentioned that there's some black people who have that Australian look of their facial features, and you do have that here in the Americas. But some of our people don't think about that because they just think, oh, we from Africa. We from Africa. We from Africa. And that's what someone else has told you, man. And truly educated black person knows that most black people are already here and they mixed in with black Europeans who came from Europe. A truly educated one who knows our history, they know that. Not these charlatans like Henry Louis Gates telling you spitting some tube and your DNA says you come from. that's fraudulent, dude. And so much of our history it's been heavily suppressed. It really has. It's been heavily suppressed. I talked about before how you had elevated structures here in America where rivers were placed under the elevated structures. You had various different faucet structures all over the Americas where they had great irrigation systems, sewage systems, tunnels. They had that here in the Americas, man. Settings where they had the water would shoot out different locations. They did that here in the Americas, man. Great building structure. I showed you before in several videos how certain building structures of the past look similar to a lot of these buildings today, particularly state houses, state capitals, because they got that building structure and idea from our ancestors who are not descendant or African slaves. No, they're descendant of the Aboriginal black empires that were already here. You need to open your mind up to your true history and study your true history. You cannot sit there and be closed-minded, because when you close-minded, when you study history, you believe what a charlatan would tell you instead of actually doing your true history. Charlatans will tell you that you're descendants of African slaves. But when you put things together and realize that our ancient ancestors navigated the planet, they sailed around the world, they had the technology of navigation, of sailing. White folks wasn't the original people who've done that, or Asians, or non-black Asians, I'd say. Non-black Asians were not the original people to do that. It was so-called black people who were doing that. But see, you got to believe that. But when so many of our people don't believe that, just believe that they're slaves, that's a problem. And that's heavily being indoctrinated with a lie, with false information. You've been told lies. You've been told that the Egyptians are another race of people. Well, you know they were black. You've been told that the Aztecs, the Mayas, the Inca, the Toltecs, the Mixtecs were some foreign race of people, some Asian people. No, those are Negroes. All those groups were Negroes. Were black people. And you had your black empires in America. I mentioned this over and over and over and over again. You've had black empires in America. But one sad thing is that these bastards have buried the truth here in America, just like they buried the truth of the black nobility rulership in Europe. Europe was once all black. That was black. That was not white. That was Negro. But when you listen to foreigners or individuals who do not have your best interest to write your history, and many of them look like you, then that's a problem. And you're going to continue to get these lies and distortion of our history and of our culture. This is why we need to understand our true history. This is why we need to learn our true history. This is why we need to master our true history of knowing what it really is. It's very important for us to do that. But you say you had a lot of these Negroes online. You claim to be educated, and they're saying the most dumbest stuff, man. It gets to be comical. But we have a lot of agents running our community who want to play, basically, you tell them information, they just want to swat it. Don't believe it. Don't believe anything. Because they already set in their beliefs on where we supposed to come from and who we truly are. And that's a damn lie. But these Negroes, who I believe are just planet informants in our community, to continue to cause confusion and to continue to mislead our people and continue to have our people lost in space, loss of identity. So, and when you see people like that, they need to be thrown out in the garbage. But you have too many of them Negroes like that who continue to preach that mess about that 1619. That information is not accurate. That's not accurate. It's not accurate at all. It's sad that some of our people don't want to believe this, because there's so many of our people have a deep level of self-hatred that they cannot even fathom that it's impossible for them to believe the greatness what our ancestors have done. That you just want to be a slave from Africa. That's a problem, man. That's a big problem, man. And it's sad. But your history goes beyond that. But you have to study. You're not going to get anything by just doing a quick Google search, because most of that stuff has been brushed up or whitened up when you research online. I remember the earlier days of the internet, man. There's some good stuff you can pull up, but a lot of that stuff has been sort of brushed off online. So you're going to have to do deep research, man. Deep research in order to get this stuff, because these bastards have done, man, some deep level stuff of just trying to erase our true history and then put someone else's face on there and give them the credit when it was created by us. Like those black folks in Rosewood weren't no descendant of goddamn African slaves, man. They descended of the Aboriginal Indians that were there. Same thing for the brothers and sisters in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Greenwood district. You know, those black people are descendant of the black people already there. In New York, what you had was Central Park, where that area was populated, was Seneca Village or whatever. Those Seneca Negro Indians. The black population is indigenous to this planet, but particularly in the Americas. All right, I don't need Garfield, Sarnetta, who are not bloodline Aboriginal Black Americans, tell me anything. Like I said, I rock with brothers and sisters who are on the same page with us, but I don't rock with them dudes, because them dudes will spreading our misinformation, and we don't need that. We really don't need that. Spreading our misinformation of who we are. We should not center our history as being, quote, Africa. We need to center our history as being we Aboriginal to this planet. But particularly us in America, we need to really study and center our history here about the blacks here in America, the Aboriginal blacks here in America. But we need to study that black people are Aboriginal around the globe. We weren't just, quote, stuck in West Africa and we brought over in slave ships, man. You got to even listen to that story. It doesn't make any sense. When you look at them Olmec heads in Mexico, obviously those are, quote, Negro heads, man. Even their hairstyle, the cornrows in the back. And some of them without their hammers had freaking afros, man. Those are not mestizos. Those are straight up Aboriginal black people that were here. So you gotta get out the slave mindset that you just brought over a slave ship. That is so inaccurate. Please wake up. Please wake up. Please wake up. Because this is information that you have to do research, but it's there. Trust me. And when you start reading this stuff, some of this stuff is so much in your face, man. But you gotta know how to break it down. It's just in your face, though. A lot of stuff is just in your face. When you look at that, so I pronounce certain things the way I do, because even the names will tell you. The names will tell you who these people really were. It's funny. It gets to be comical that these fools try their best to erase it, but our ancestors are letting us know, man. They're letting us know with the names. There's certain images that you're seeing, and certain images that were carved 1,000 years ago, and these anthropologists and archaeologists and geologists want to ignore this stuff, but it's still there. Even though they had faced the weathering and the deterioration, it's still there, like the Olmec heads in Canada. That's still there. That's still there in Alberta, Canada. That's still there. And it's been, obviously, it's been vandalized, but also weathering, because Canada can get real cold and windy. They help cause some damages, and the stuff has been damaged, but a lot of stuff is still there, and they carved into rock. It tells you that they had great tools. They didn't use no goddamn copper tools. They used iron to carve into that damn rock. And maybe they may have some form of lasers, but I know they use iron to do that. That's why I had one of my videos I was talking about smelting of iron, how they smelted iron in many of those mounds. Those mounds weren't originally for no dead people. So I'm just letting you know that, man. I'm letting you know that this information is in your face. A lot of stuff will be in your face. Once you know it, it's just like, whoa. The names are just so, it's right in your face. But you're going to have to want to get it and seek it. And unfortunately, many of our people do not want to do that. They just want to be told that the slaves from Africa, or some white person will tell them this information, which is sad. That tells you you're a totally conquered Negro mentally. That's why we need to be more forward thinking, and knowing who we truly are and where we come from. Because some of these Negroes on YouTube, man, some of the stuff that they're saying is asinine and it's sick. And then white folks will tell you that, oh, they had slave breeding farms. No. They took many of the black people who were already here. Remember, your original I said this over and over again, but your original slaves were your Aboriginal black Indians. All right, they did not enslave them all. Those a lot of them became freemen. All right, they took them out of they reclassified so many of them, and then made these Asian people who were adopted into black groups head of the tribes, and as well as white folks. But unfortunately, some of these Negroes were, well, a lot of these Negro groups were fighting amongst each other. And then you had many of them who adopted those Asians and even some whites into their group, which is a mistake. So this is what really happened. We're not descendant of African slaves. Most of our ancestors weren't brought over no ship. Over is no African slave ship. Like they could tell the story, it's a fake. It's a host. You know, that stuff is fraudulent, man. Like that Gory Island stuff, man. I don't want to hear that mess, man. That stuff is fake, man. Because these people do not want you to know your real history. They do not want you to know, like I said, the original Indians the original people who were enslaved were the Aboriginal black Indians here. And then obviously, you know, you had a lot of black Europeans that came over here who was expelled over here. So that's what most black Americans are a mixture of. You know, you also had brothers and sisters from the Pacific Islands coming over here before slavery and brought over here too. And you know, you also had a bunch of little Asians being brought over here as slaves. So this stuff is not, you're not being taught true history. You're taught that you the only people that suffered through slavery, when various different groups suffered through different forms of slavery. But we have been given white folks' history, because majority of our history had nothing to do. Majority of our history in the Americas had nothing to do with slavery. We were ruling the Americas, so you gotta understand that. And then some of you Negroes who refuse to be like that, then your ass be stuck at the train station at point A. You don't want to get to point B, the end destination. That's the problem. You a problem, but you gonna stay stuck and remain stuck. Stay stuck on neutral. Stay ignorant to your true history. That's on you. But the masses of black people gonna have to move, man. You cannot continue to listen to stuff like 1619. Excuse me. That is totally misinformation. That is totally misinformation. That's totally inaccurate information, man. That is totally inaccurate information. But yet it's being presented on mainstream TV by Walt Disney. But this is a company that funds movies where they never really show black men and black women together. They always a main black character is paired with some white person, a la the Spider-Man cartoon under Marvel, since Disney owned Marvel, and that Little Mermaid. See, Disney has an agenda. And then they're going to show you that 1619 say you came over here as slaves. And it was white folks who brought you over here because you're too stupid to sail around the world. And pick up on this stuff, man. You got to pick up on this stuff. The original people in Americas were black. Were so-called black people. And we had great empires here, but you have to study it. You're going to have to wake up and get out of this mess that you descended of African slaves. That's a lie. And like I said, I want my reparations. I want my damn money, cash money. I want damn gold. I want my land. And I want all the identities, true identities, given back to the Aboriginal black people here and then stripped away from these non-black people. I'm telling you this now. You have to learn your true damn history. You must learn your true damn history. You got to stop listening to these charlatans who tell you to go back to Africa when their ass is not leaving nowhere themselves. They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. They're here in America. We're going to go back to Africa. When your ass going to go back? You're going to go back to your land that technically you're not even from. I'm African. I'm not American. I just see myself. Shut your ass up. See, it's that brainwashing that's really sickening. We are the true American people. We are the true people of this land. We are the Aboriginal people of this land. But you got to stop saying that you're a foreigner by calling yourself an African American. Right there, you're giving a foreign land and giving that name before who you really are. You are the true American people. So that stuff, the African American term, needs to be thrown in the wastebasket. It needs to go. It needs to go by the. It needs to go like the record player has gone. The record player is obsolete. The term African American is obsolete. Actually, it should never been used because we're not African American. We are Aboriginal Americans. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. Fine. You want to be African? I just tell people go back to Africa when you actually not from there. You're not African. But if you, like I say, you want to do that, that's on you. But that term's gonna have to be thrown in the trash basket. We're gonna have to move on. So you want to stay at the train station instead of moving on? Fine. You stay at the train station. You stay stuck in neutral. Stay there. There's a lot of our people learn our true history, and I love them for that. Now we just need to move on. Don't waste your time arguing, brothers and sisters, with these Negroes who continue to preach that mess about that you were brought here as slaves and all this roots mess. That's the fake. All right? Learn your true history. The original blacks who were enslaved were Aboriginal black Indians. Those are the ones who originally were enslaved. Not Africans. So it was the people here first. Why would you get a foreigner to work in fields over the people who are already here, who know this land better than anyone else? It doesn't make any sense. You got to put pieces together. But we don't want to. Many of us are just so afraid of realizing how much we've been taught or been misfed information that has been very destructive to our people, but has been destructive to just our everyday thinking of who we are and about ourselves and our culture. It's a very destructive type of thinking. And we got to get out of that. All right? We must get out of that. And I believe many of us will, but then there's many of us who won't. Many of us will be stuck at the train station. We got to move on, brothers and sisters. That is pretty long. I didn't intend to be this long, but I just wanted to just say that. And I'll probably shoot a video. And I was thinking about doing it today, but I didn't, so I may just do it later in the week, whatever. But Yeah, so I just want you to realize, brothers and sisters, man, you need to study your history. Study your true history, man. Study your true Aboriginal history. It's yours. Just get your history back. Get all of your history back. Start taking trips around the Americas, especially in North America, man. Our history is all over. Our imprint is all over here in America, particularly here in North America. Study your history, please. It's right in your face. You don't need to go to another continent to study your real history. You study your history before slavery. Because these Negroes, when they talk about black history, when they talk about things, slavery and then post-slavery, that's insulting. Study your history before, because you own the land and soil that your ancestors built. Alright? Study your history before slavery here. Because I hear some of you Negroes talking about, oh, we don't need to study ancient Egypt. Oh, you should. Because Egypt was here in America. And that's our history here in America. That's our history. We are of that lineage. It's our history. And it goes way beyond 1619 and being a slave in Africa. Coming from Africa. No, we were already here. Majority of us, not some of us, majority of us, overwhelming number of us were already here. And we built civilizations here. And when I mean that we were already here, that we were the first people here. You need to get that. You need to understand that. We were the first people here. Once you do the research, once you really do the research, you will see this. But you gotta stop saying that you're an African American or you're descendant of African slaves. You have to say that now. You have to stop saying that now. You cannot say that. Because you're giving your true identity away. You're saying that you're a foreigner. Stop saying that you're a foreigner. Reclaim your true land. Reclaim your true history. This is your true history in America. But you're going to have to open your mind and open your heart to study who you really are. We're not descendants of African slaves. That's why I hate that term ADOS, man. That is wrong. We're not descendants of African slaves. That's insulting. We're not descendants of the slaves. Some ancestors were slaves. And their land was taken from them and everything. But we're not descendants of slaves. Because we had a history in this country that go back thousands of years, which we built in this country. So you gotta get out of that thinking. Peace and love, brothers and sisters.